Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Lant, Paul Bassett and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity podcast, episode 35. Can't believe we've been doing it this long already, Pete. We are one man down today. We are missing Mr. Paul Bassett, but he has sent in a question or two, I think, for our guest today, which we can relay to her a little bit later. So first of all, I just want to say hello to our usual co-host, Mr. Peter Lant. How are you doing, Peter?
Hello, I'm all good. We're all back outside again, training. Your gym's open again. It's all getting back to semi-normal, which is great, isn't it?
Semi-normal, indeed. And as I if I am in the gym and there are a few people training, so I may mute myself as we go through the session today. And we are joined by a very, very special guest today, all the way from San Diego in California, and she is actually outside as we speak. Her name is Lauren Brooks. I've been aware of Lauren for a long, long time, for many, many years. Online. She is the original Kettlebell Queen. She is fantastic. I mean, I know lots of our listeners will possibly already follow her on Instagram. But you just want to say hello to start off with, Lauren?
What's up? And thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure and an honor. Yeah, I'm out here in my outdoor gym, as you guys can see. A little messy right now. Apologies. Just finished training some clients. Yeah, this is my outdoor gym where a lot of the magic happens. Not all of the magic, but quite a bit.
Yeah, if you are watching on YouTube, you can see, it's a beautiful kind of, if you're not watching, I'll explain. It's like a beautiful semi-outdoor covered area for, there's kettlebells there's parallettes, there's Olympic rings, there's barbells, there's everything there, foam rollers. Absolutely fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to speak to Lauren today. Lauren is a mother of 4. She has 2 dogs as well, I believe. She has been involved in this for a long, long time. So I'm going to pass over to Lauren. Can you just tell us, Lauren, and tell all the listeners kind of, really kind of your history, really, how you got involved in doing this, how long you've been doing it for, and kind of what you're up to at the moment, really.
Absolutely. First of all, you just aged me. No, I'm just kidding. It's all good. Yes,
if anyone's watching, they won't be able to tell. Put it that way.
No, there's no way. No.
That's what California does for you by the looks of it.
Oh, well, I lived in Texas for quite some time. So let's see, where do I start? In high school, I'll just go back real quick. A quick, brief history is I graduated high school at 17. I was a surfer in Texas. Okay. I wasn't very strong. In fact, I felt I had almost no confidence whatsoever. I didn't feel very strong at all. Surfing was the only thing that made me feel good. I moved out to California at 17 years old by myself, did the college thing, surfed, worked my butt off at different restaurants and things like that. But one thing that I really felt strongly was that women need confidence to feel good about themselves, and what is going to help that is strength. And so I started dabbling a little bit in the gym. I started, conventional training back then. This is before kettlebells were introduced to us, at least here in the USA. And so I got really involved with some conventional strength training, and I had minimal results. It felt good. But things were tough. I was on my own, didn't have any family around here, but I made it through. But I did go on to get my kinesiology degree at San Diego State because I got real involved in wanting to learn the body, the ins and outs, how to adjust it, how to make me feel better about my own personal self. And of course, I was a trainer at the time. I was a trainer at the Aztec Rec Center. This is when I was 19 years old. The Aztec Rec Center is actually a pretty I guess it's pretty well known here in California it's the college level gym. And so I felt privileged to be able to have that opportunity to train these people during my classes, during my studies, while getting my degree in kinesiology, which I will have to say I learned a lot more outside of college than I ever learned inside, to be completely honest with you guys. And so when I graduated, you know, I was a pretty decent trainer. I was able to help people transform and change. But let me tell you, it took a long time to get people to where they wanted to go. The good news with the conventional training is it was very basic. Okay, it wasn't intimidating. It really kind of pleased a very wide variety of people. Now, it wasn't until I discovered kettlebell training when I was 24, it was about 5 years later, so that was 17 years ago. That's when things started getting a little controversial. I was working at a gym at the time, conventional training gym, of course. And they
Can I just ask, Lauren? Sorry, just for the listeners. Most of our listeners they're kind of not trainers. They're more kind of everyday people. You know, the kind of people that you might train. And when you use the term kind of like basic training or conventional training, what are you referring to? Just so that they can get a bit of a picture of that.
Yeah. So conventional training basically means using machines and using like this actual equipment that requires setting up in a traditional gym, and also the programming. A lot of the programming back in the day was around body parts, you know, like for example, today we're going to just do back and bis today. Okay, it was more of like a bodybuilding type approach, and it worked. However, so you're showing up, you know, we're doing these exact reps, these exact sets for the biceps, for the back, you know, for the deltoids, you know, so we're just approaching everything as a collection of body parts versus the whole system. There was no system. It was just body parts and how it looked and how it felt. And so that was the training. That was the training that everybody did. And that's what we were taught, even in my kinesiology classes when we had, so that's what we were that's what we were taught. That's how the certifications were for the traditional personal training certifications. So when I discovered, not personally, but I was asked to go to a kettlebell training day, and this was, you know, Franz Schneidman, right? You guys know Franz?
Oh, yeah, Franz.
So I was, they sent me to him for the day because he was having like a very small group of 8 to 10 personal trainers. It was just a personal training day just to introduce kettlebells. Everybody was pretty new to it. So they said, hey, Lauren, go to this kettlebell day, learn what you can, come back, teach us, and we'll implement it into our gym. Sure, why not? Let's check this out. And so I did. It was an extremely humbling experience. I mean, I couldn't even do a Turkish get-up with an 8-pound weight. I mean, that's 4 kilos. I didn't know like how to connect my body with. I was like, wait a minute, I could do really heavy bicep curls. I can do like, you know, 300 pounds on, you know, the bench press. I mean, and not the bench press, but the leg press. And I thought I was strong. I thought I was in really good shape. And then I couldn't even do a get up with an 8-pound bell. So that was a real wake up call for me. And so I went back, tried to teach this gym the ins and outs of stuff I learned. And they said, absolutely not. We're not implementing that here. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? This is awesome. I mean, you know, because it really, you know, it took a minute. I will tell you, it's very intimidating at first, you know, especially when you are used to this machines and body part training. And you think, oh my gosh, if I ditch this kind of training, am I just going to lose everything I have? And so it was a real big mind shift. I don't know if that's what your experience was back in the day, if you also did more conventional type training, or if you still do conventional type. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not what I do anymore.
Yeah, I spoke last week, and I've been in the industry kind of, you know, similar type sort of 22-ish years. And when I first learned and everything was geared around, you know, you separate the body into one piece and, you know, you train your biceps and your triceps and your back and your chest, and you're just doing your supersetting things. And it was all around bodybuilding. So I totally appreciate and also appreciate you. So was this kind of like a bit of a kind of commercial sort of setup that you went back to and tried to say, look, we'll try some get-ups and that sort of thing. So I can appreciate the kind of reaction that you would have got, because it sort of flew in the face of everything that was going on at the time, didn't it?
It did. And they were actually very nervous that they would lose members if I were to start incorporating some of these new, the swing, the clean, the get up. If I started incorporating some of that in with, and that at the time I wasn't certified as a kettlebell coach. We didn't really know about those certifications at the time. But I did put some time into it, and I would drive about an hour 2 to 3 times a week to take some of Franz's kettlebell classes. There was almost no trainers at the time that understood what kettlebells were or even knew what it was. This is in, like I said, 2004. Yeah, so that was quite a bit ago.
So back in that time, Lauren, where was Franz kind of learning this stuff from? What was his, we haven't had him on the podcast yet. I think I'm sure we will do at some stage, but if this was all so new at the time, where was he getting his information from at that time?
Yeah, so I found out real quick, because I was like, this stuff is too good for me not to really dive deep into it. And so he had told me he learned from Pavel. He went to one of their certifications that they had all the way in Minnesota, which is, for us, that's flying across the country. And that was, at the time, that was a very big deal. If you wanted to get a certification, you didn't have to fly across country to do so. You could sign up, you would show up for the weekend somewhere local. I mean, we're in San Diego, there's certifications and every weekend here. I mean, everybody wants to be a trainer. It's very common. And you would just show up for the weekend, you'd study for, a couple weeks, and bam, you take your test, you're certified. Wonderful. But for this was, I started looking it up. I mean, it was a hefty amount of money to spend. You have to fly out there. Then it's, I will say at the time, mostly men. Okay. It was about 85% men. Okay. Which is also intimidating for 24-year-old women. And these, some of these were in the military, big, burly guys. But I was fascinated, because just by taking Franz's classes, just by incorporating the philosophy behind the movement of this full body kettlebell training, it wasn't really about the kettlebell. It was really just about the movement patterns, the get-ups, even the sumo deadlift, but just being able to use just this very small, and for some people that would be big, but it's smaller than a barbell. And it's just, to me, it felt so much more accessible. You can bring it with you everywhere, and just incorporating this philosophy of this full body type training, my body changed very quickly. Just incorporating that, it was a little scary for me to just ditch this conventional training, this, body part kind of training that I've been doing for on and off for quite a few years. I felt like that really got me to where I was, but I obviously wasn't strong. I could barely do a pull-up. I could barely do a push-up. There's a lot of things I couldn't really do that felt that were actually real feats of strength. So anyway, when I did that, just in a few weeks time, in like 45 minutes, I didn't have to do cardio anymore. I stopped going on the treadmill. I stopped going on the stair mill. I mean, the stair mill was very big where we lived. I mean, you do your weights for an hour, then you go do your cardio for 30 to 45 minutes to an hour. That's 2 hours. Who the hell has 2 hours? I mean, at least definitely
not when
now.
you got 4 kids.
Yeah. But at the time I didn't have the kids, and, I was still working, and I'm like, wow, I can get all this done. And I mean, the classes were like 45 minutes. So then of course I bought a few kettlebells and started, I actually forgot to tell you guys that I actually quit this job, because I was like, forget this. I'm not going to train somewhere where I know there's something better out there. I mean, these people are going to get so freaking strong if we just get rid. Again, I'm not saying that's bad, and there's a place for that. There is definitely a place for 85 to 90-year-olds or people with major injuries. That's great for them, but most able-bodied people will do a ton better working the whole body at once. And so I was just absolutely hooked. And it was the first thing in my life, other than surfing at the time, that I got obsessed with. I wanted to know everything about it.
Sorry, go on, Pete.
We had Claire Booth on a couple of weeks ago, who's she's like this senior
sort of strong first, in the GB,
strong first UK. And she used to be a bodybuilder, so she was training in the same ways you've just been talking about. She's had kind of a similar journey by the sounds of it, but she was, concentrating on body parts and getting in shape, but like basically battling her hormones and everything to get as lean as possible and go on the stage. And then she had a similar experience of finding the kettlebell, starting to use that, realizing she wasn't very strong, realizing she could get in that shape anyway, but also be strong and be able to do pull-ups and get-ups and whatever you like. So what kind of effect did it have on you in that sort of situation? Like, not saying did it fix your body and what have you, but did it, what changes actually started to happen apart from getting stronger? What did you start to notice?
Well, first of all, everything, I just felt like connected. I felt supported. If I had started snowboarding about 5 years prior to that, but I didn't have a chance to do a lot of snowboarding. And so when I would show up after a long season, the first time I showed up after implementing kettlebell kind of philosophy training in my life, my snowboarding went from like just chill to just crazy. I was like, what? I could literally go nonstop and my legs, it's like, what legs? I don't even know I had them, because I felt like I had this full body armor around me. Yes. But of course, as you know, that first day I was barely able to do a 4 kilo get up. And then fast forward at 33 years old, I was able to do a 62 pound get up, and I'm not a big person. I'm like 5'2.5". At the time I was 116 pounds. So I'm not this big, I'm a small, petite frame. And so I was under the impression, because I'm this small little tiny thing walking around, there is no way that heavy stuff is for me. I was under that impression before learning about how strength really is a skill. And all of that was thrown out the window when I was seeing these little tiny individuals walking around, moving these heavy ass things around. And it was just so inspiring. And I was like, well, I want to do that too. I did, of course, I got pregnant throughout this twice and had 2 major freaking C-sections. And if you've ever seen any of the photos of me pregnant, when you have a small person pregnant, as small as me, plus you have a big ass baby inside you, I mean, my belly walked in the room about 6 weeks before I got there. So I literally thought my freaking career was absolutely finished. Because at the time I was able to get a 6-pack, from the training. And, I wasn't one of those people. I'm going to, be honest with you. I was never really interested in like figure competitions or bodybuilding. I've had people, hey, can I train you to I'll put you on the stage and this and that. This is back in the day. And I was like, no, I'm just not interested. I just didn't really want to spend time. And again, no disrespect to people who enjoy that, but I just didn't want to spend my time measuring food and like being all perfect and OCD, because I felt like that was going to take the joy out of my training. And I wasn't just doing it just to like look a certain way. And I also wanted to be able to resonate with my students, which are usually a lot older than me. I usually attract students anywhere between 10 and 30 years older than me. And people weren't coming to me to have that bodybuilding figure. That wasn't what people were coming to me for. People were coming to me because they were weak. They had no confidence. They were in pain. They've had 4 kids and they're like, they had this big old pooch. They had no connection. People were coming to me so they can feel and be amazing and strong in their own bodies and have that confidence back. So
that's a good place actually, because I'm glad you mentioned that, because we have Paul, our other co-host, who isn't here because he's super busy at the moment because he's just opened back up again. But he left us a question for you, which is based on what you've just said actually. But first of all, he said he wanted to say thank you because he got in touch with you a few years ago after his wife had they've got 2 kids, so I don't know if it was after the first child or both children. But you helped out with some stuff, particularly for pelvic girdle pain. And he said he just wanted to say thanks for that, because he said he's used it with friends of his friends and clients in a similar situation. So he got a lot of information off you for that. I think he must have emailed you back in the day. So he says thank you for that. And then he went on to say how would you approach strength training effectively before and after birth? And he mentions, because you've had a couple of big old C-sections, like you said, and he's like, how did you regain your muscle function and come back stronger after that? Because it's not, it's a big deal, isn't it?
It is a big deal. It's funny because, if you go get if you have a shoulder surgery, what did the doctors give you when you're done? They probably give you, in England, maybe they give you a prescription for PT. Here, they'll tell you to go to PT. You don't necessarily, a lot of times you have to pay out of pocket. Anytime you have a surgery, you normally get a physical therapist to help you rehabilitate. Here, you have a C-section. Here's your baby. Here's some drugs. Don't walk upstairs for 2 weeks. See you in 2 weeks. And then, maybe walk 10 minutes a day at the most, once you can bear it. That's it. There's nothing. And I was not okay with that answer. No. For somebody who was so body aware and who, again, it wasn't just about the looks. Yes, I was very proud that I had these abs and whatnot, but it was also the fact that, my stomach just wasn't working the same anymore. Our digestion gets completely out of whack. When you have this huge child smashing your organs, your intestines, and then, even a natural birth, they can get out of whack. But then on top of getting literally cut open, ripped, spread apart, get this huge creature out, and then you have to sew back up, staples, tons and tons of staples. You can't bear down. I'm talking about gas pains get in there from all the suction they do. It gets all trapped in your neck. The pain associated, and then trying to care for a kid, much less toddlers running around, holy crap, man. That shit's hard. So the point is, you asked me, I know I kind of deviated, but to how to prepare, you better be freaking strong. Because, and I do know people who don't train, of course, and have had their C-sections, and they're like, oh, fine. Because a lot of those people are not quite in their bodies. They don't care to do push-ups or deadlifts or push-ups. But I'll tell you, I would say at least 80% of the people I know end up having neck pain, back pain, because their core it's not even connected. There's no connection. And so, of course,
would you think they'd associate that with then? Because I'm carrying a baby around all day, therefore that's giving me neck pain, back pain. Which isn't really the case, is it?
Well, it's partially that, yes. Carrying a kid around this way, nursing and doing this, that's not going to help. But if you can get that core facilitated and connected and get the brain to understand it is still in there, it's part of the body, let's see what we can do gently to get it activated again, then those things will not have to compensate as much. Of course, I do have to work with women on, reminding them to set it on their watch, to switch sides with their baby, put them in the stroller. You guys call it pram, things like that. So you guys, sorry about that. All of you, everyone. Hey, I lived in Texas too. I'll say y'all. Now, anyway, so the point is, so to get people, what I would do when women come to me and they're saying, hey, I want to have a kid, I want to get them as strong as freaking possible. I want to teach them about their core, because nobody knows whether they're going to have a C-section or not. Most people I work with, we don't want to have a C-section. It's literally the last resort. There are a few people who are like, oh, I want my C-section. I don't know. I don't really relate to those people too much who want to have this who all we want really is a safe child, is a healthy baby. Okay. And so, yes, the job is really to train them super hard and be able to be comfortable in their squats, because some of these moms, they want to be able to deliver naturally without drugs. They want to be able to do it in these squat positions. Great. I am not a doula. That is not my expertise. I have had a doula. My job is just to make them super freaking strong and aware. And then after they have during their baby. So I work with women carrying children as well, carrying babies, of course, as long as they're low risk and it's okay by the doctor, which I would say most women, luckily, if they don't have any issues or placenta previa, they can continue their training, which I did come out with a DVD back in the day, pregnant with my second baby, and I got a lot of flack for it, but that's okay. A lot of people criticize me for having, for even using kettlebells during pregnancy. So, but these days, sorry, I got hair all over my face, but these days I think people are a little bit more used to seeing women actually doing something more than sitting on the couch eating extra calories, which they tell you to eat 300 extra calories a day. Trust me, you'll find it. So after your pregnancy, the main thing I help with women is, number one, first of all, don't rush into it. Okay. Like these people, they just want to go, go, go. And that's where the postpartum blues will set in. You're not sleeping. Okay. There's no sleeping. You guys both dads? James, you're a dad.
Yeah, I've got two. Yeah.
You got two. Well,
I've got none, so I can't relate to any of this. I sleep really well.
Nice. Smart man. There's not a lot of sleep involved. And for some, I mean, sometimes you're woken up every hour. And then these women are not only being woken up every hour. Again, I know you didn't get me on the podcast to talk about what happens after a woman has a baby, but just this is a reality. There's not a lot of sleep happening. You're recovering from childbirth. You're recovering from having this creature stretched. I mean, I didn't realize the stomach could do that. I mean, man, imagine. I mean, it is, I can barely drive. I would have had to put my seat back. I mean, it's incredible what our bodies can do. And so, yeah, it's going to feel deflated. It's all going to be all mushed around. Our digestive system's not going to be working well. Then they want us to take all these drugs for the crazy pain. And so, yeah, there's going to be a bit of a disconnect getting back to kettlebell training. So when I see these women running 2 weeks after giving birth, I just want to do this, because a year later, their neck and their backs hurt, their ankles hurt, their knees hurt, because they didn't work gently on this. And so I do have a little blog article that I wrote about this, what doctors don't tell you after a C-section. That's what it's called. It's fairly popular because it seems to be one of the ones that pop up quite a bit on Google.
We'll make sure we put that in the show notes and stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
He's writing that down now. Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever know anybody who's ever had a kid, they could use this, whether they've had a C-section or not. And so once there's a little bit of connection, which I go through, I talk about just a few progressions. One of my dear friends, she's an amazing practitioner. So it also helps to have good friends that are great practitioners. She's a muscle activation technique therapist. So she came up with something called the mini plank, okay, where you gently just hold for 5 to 6 seconds on your elbows and knees. You tuck, you connect everything, and you go maybe at 30 to 40%. Because in the beginning, there's going to be a lot of numbness, a lot of disconnect. And so if you go out there and just try to hold these hardest planks and do all these hard things, your body's going to be like, no, you have to slowly kind of open up the pathways and allow your body to know it's going to be okay. Because there was a lot of trauma. And so we have to just very slowly, and some people are I want to lose all this weight in 2 weeks. I'm like, okay, good luck. When's the last time you slept? Well, I'm not sleeping. I'm like, okay, are you breastfeeding? Yeah, I'm breastfeeding. All right, well, okay. Well, here's the deal. Let me help you rehab you first. And people don't like to hear the truth. People don't like to understand that. And I'm not saying people can't just drop pounds in 5 minutes. Yes, anybody is capable of losing weight if you put your mind to it. But there could be a lot of pain associated with how you do it. Okay. And if you're nursing, that's a whole different subject. Let me tell you, your body is going to be starving all the time. You're making all this stuff. You're making a new baby. You're growing this baby now outside your body. It's the next phase. And so that also is a different stressor. And so really, when we are talking about helping women go through every stage of pregnancy, especially post-pregnancy, it really does need to take this very gentle approach. I'm not going to be having them do a snatch test. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be very gentle. And then within 6 weeks, we could be swinging. We could be doing some swings depending on the progress that they're making. It's not this long thing.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What's your kind of demographic at the moment that you tend to work with? I know that you said you tend to attract students who are, I think you said sort of maybe 10 to 30 years older than yourself. What kind of people are you working with at the moment? Or I know there's probably a broad spectrum, but in general, who do you work with at the moment?
Yeah, I would say generally, most people are over 40. I train most women. I train mostly women. I do have some men here, the smart ones that can show up with all the strong women and be able to be okay with that. No, but we have women anywhere between 40. I mean, of course, I told you, it's 20. We do have some 20s, but mostly women over 40s. I would say the average age that comes to see me, they're in their 50s. Okay, many of them were in shape all their lives because they didn't have to do anything. They walked, they played tennis, they were able to do all those things. A lot of them are professionals, maybe dentists, electrolysis, they're professionals, but what brings them in to see me is pain. Usually my neck hurts, my back hurts, I'm getting weak, I'm starting to slouch. They don't come in because they want the bikini body. I don't get those people. I mean, I get a couple of those people, but most of those, and then some people are like, I want to be badass. I just had 2 kids. I'm like, okay, we can help you do that too. But yes, most people are very motivated by pain.
So where do if we kind of look at, we got to the stage when you were doing your kind of explaining your journey, where you started to learn about the kettlebell, you got certified, then you wanted to bring this to a more sort of mainstream conventional gym, which wasn't up for that, and you decided, well, actually, I'll have to leave. So you made that decision to leave your kind of, I suppose, safe conventional job in a conventional gym. And then how did you get from there to kind of where you are now, and kind of, you kind of blew up with all your kind of programs and DVDs and things like that, and who you are now, and what was that journey from that decision to now? I mean, I know that's a long period of time, but kind of what led you down that path, and how did that come about?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, I had 0 clients when I left because we signed contracts, even though people were like, where are you going? I couldn't, just morally or ethically, you can't take anybody. So I had nothing. That's a very good motivational purpose. Also, there's trainers on every corner, and none of them knew what kettlebells were. I knew the magic of kettlebells. So that was an extremely motivating factor to spend that $2,000 to $3,000 and fly my little butt over to Minnesota and do the 3-day Russian boot camp with Pavel. And after those 3 days of grueling 3 days, and at the time, everything was doubles. For me, I was probably at the time, 110 pounds, just this little thing. Again, before kids, before marriage, all that stuff. And I barely got through it, but I did it. I got certified, and I just needed to let everybody know. And so at the time, there was only one way to start doing that, and I started blogging. I found a local gym that you can rent space from. And one of the women who I'm very good friends with now, she was leaving for Brazil for 4 months. And she interviewed me. She kind of, wanted to make sure I would be a good fit just to rent space from her. And so she kind of saw how I worked and saw some of and she took a few of my little sessions and wanted to learn some kettlebell stuff. And she was pretty excited, but she was taken off for 4 months, and she had all these older clients, 80 years old, at 70 and 80 years old. And so she needed someone to take over. So I walked into something. So I needed to take over all her clients for 4 months. Of course, I wasn't able to really do kettlebell training with them because she had but it was kind of that kind of got me out of working for somebody else and working for myself. So at the time, I still was able to get some income by training other people's clients. At least I realized the demographics I did not enjoy. I manually stretched them out. I didn't love that, but I did it. at the time that was kind of, I don't know if you guys do that right now for your clients or students, but at the time that was how you would train people, at least in where we lived. I mean, stretching them out was like part of their private session, and there's nothing wrong with it. But anyway, so I did that. And so people started finding me from my writings on my blog. And I was able to publish an article on bodybuilding.com. And suddenly people started contacting me. I was the kettlebell person in this area. There was probably just maybe one other girl doing it down way south, but I was the only one in North County, San Diego, which is the north part of San Diego, doing it. And so that's how I slowly started building my one-on-one business. But I saw the people I was working with, like I said, just everyday moms, everyday professionals. And so I just wanted to keep going back and learning more and more. So I was invited to become an assistant at one of these RKCs. I was pregnant with my first child at the time, got married, pregnant with my first child. So I flew out. It was snowing, and I literally assisted 3 days straight, pregnant as all can be with my first baby. I was freaking dedicated. I was like, you pay for your own way. I just wanted to be out there and learn. And so I kept blogging, writing my journey, and so after I had my baby, everybody knew that I was scared shitless. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to get back to what I did, how I looked before. How am I going to do this? Oh crap, my baby's breech. How am I going to deal with this now on top of this gigantic belly? How am I going to recover from a stomach surgery? I mean, that's it. I'm done. I thought only people liked to come to me because I had a 6-pack. I thought that was it. Oh, I want your 6-pack. That's what people would tell me. Get me that 6-pack, whatever. All right, fine. Of course, we did nutrition too. So I thought my life was over, had the baby. My life was not over. I was able to figure it out. I had, like I said, my MAT good friend to help me with the mini planks. And I did a lot of Paul Chek research. I mean, I just dove in and just read and I'm a researcher. I just get crazy. And so I started writing and showing pictures and my baby and seeing where I was and just honest shit, real honest. And at the time, blog was the thing. There's no Facebook, there's no Instagram. Even Tracy Rifkin and I, we followed each other's blogs. I mean, that was the day. That's how we got going. And I had all these people suddenly wanting to know my journey, wanting to learn more about kettlebell training. But people were scared. They did not want to go learn from these big burly dudes. They wanted to learn from someone kind of chill, someone inviting, not to make it this elite thing that it's not for you. It's only for these very in shape people. And I didn't want that. I wanted this available to everybody. Why not? You can do it. Everyone can do it. You just have to go light and be smart. And so that's when I took a freaking risk and made my first DVD. And I knew nothing about marketing. I was actually asked during the creation of my first DVD to be in somebody else's DVD. A very well-known kettlebell instructor out there today has their own certification, and they offered me this price. And I was like, wow, this is validating me knowing that what I'm doing is great. That's great that they want me in their DVD. Unfortunately, I said, I'll be in your DVD, but I'm already making my own. Is that okay? And they said, absolutely not. It's not okay. You have to do this exclusively with us. If you go off and make your own DVD, you're absolutely going to fail, Lauren. Nobody knows who you are. It's going to fall in the cracks. You don't know shit about making videos. You know nothing. So if you don't go with us, you're just missing out your opportunity. I'm not going to tell you I told you so. So I took a risk and just told them no and made my own. And the night I released the DVD, my husband at the time, he was in the hospital for the 50th time. Long story. We'll go into that another time. And while we're in the hospital, I grabbed my computer and I checked. I was like, there's probably maybe one sale or whatever. I mean, nobody really, I don't know crap about videos. And suddenly I had 5 emails from distributors that wanted to buy boxes of 100 at a time. Some of them wanted to buy 300 at a time. And then I had all these regular orders too. And I was like, oh, crap. Oh, shit. People are buying this. Oh, my God. What if people don't like it? Oh, my gosh. I just, and
it's funny how the mind works, isn't it? Because the first fear is no one's going to buy it. And then the second fear is loads of people are going to buy it, but they're not going to like it, you know? And then it's loads of people have bought it and they like it. How do I follow it up? And, you know, you just kind of roll forwards, don't you?
Yeah. And I literally, I was just shocked that, first of all, people were actually interested and they couldn't wait to get their hands on it. They were talking about it all over the internet. I was like, how are people finding out about this? And so finally, when it got into the masses, I mean, we sold quite a few. I was in shock. I honestly had no idea it would do the way it would do well. People kept emailing me left and right. Lauren, I've been doing your workout every single day. They would send me pictures. Lauren, I've never felt so good. I'm going to become a certified instructor just because you just gave me hope. Lauren, I was going to kill myself. I mean, the gnarliest stories, people who were going to kill themselves. Like I can't make this shit up. I mean, people would be like, I've never felt so good. And your 12-minute workout alone, I've lost, X amount of weight. My stomach is now like a 6-pack. Oh my gosh, my butt, this and that. I just feel so good. When's the next one coming? And that's all I kept hearing is, when's the next one? When's the next one? When's the next one? And I was like, well, crap. Because I filmed my first DVD just a year out from my first C-section. And so that's another thing. And I filmed it with a woman who was 50 years old, who also had 2 babies and 2 C-sections. So the two of us, we're walking these 6-packs. We both have had 2 C-sections. We were real people, no plastic surgery or anything, all that. Nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying we showed up as we were. And people liked that. We're more relatable because we didn't go under the knife to say we got this body. We got this body because of the training we were doing, because of regular eating, healthy, but not OCD. And so then people were really putting the pressure. I was getting emails every day. When's the next one? When's the next one? We want more. I was like, crap, guys, I'm pregnant with my second child. Like, there's no way. We're gonna have to wait. And I was like, okay, that's it. I'm doing kettlebell training anyway. It's time to make a baby bells. So that was my second DVD. Again, here we go. I was like, crap, this is just going to fall in the tanks. It's going to suck. I mean, who the hell is going to want to buy a pregnancy kettlebell DVD? And sure enough, people who weren't even pregnant, even men, did this kettlebell training DVD.
Were you getting emails of ladies like, do I have to get pregnant to do this work?
I was like, no, you could just be your warm up or a cool down day or whatever. Yeah, people were sending me pictures of their husbands and them, like the woman pregnant and their husbands doing it with them. I have a couple people who came out here, they moved out here, and they're like, we learned, a lot of people learned about me during their pregnancy. I had one lady, she's in my membership now. So I have a membership now, which is also something really I'm proud of. She's had 9 babies. She found me, I believe, on her 7th. Yeah. So she said that her pregnancies and her deliveries have never been better since she started kettlebell training. And this is not a rare story. These are very common stories. I mean, when you freaking take care of yourself, when you have a strong butt and you know that it's there, and when you have a nice core and strong lats and connection, and you get that endorphins, and you don't overdo it. That's like my huge philosophy, is I don't wipe the floor with people. If you feel like you are so freaking tired you can barely walk out of here, we're not doing it right. You're going to burn out. Okay? This is gonna be a 6 to 12 month journey for you. I'm here to be here with you guys for forever. Let's see how long we can go. And so it really is all about pulling back that crazy energy that we've been taught. Many people, especially the football players that I've trained in the Navy SEALs, they're like, well, I don't feel like I've done a lot. How am I getting stronger? I'm like, just trust the process. They're like, well, this is not hard enough. You got to push me harder. I've had some retired football players, and for not soccer, but like American football. And they were taught to just destroy themselves to feel like they're actually going to get somewhere. And none of the training that I do at least if you use the right kettlebells and the right load for yourself, you will not feel like you're destroyed. And that's the main thing for me, is we have a life outside of this. If you can't go play tennis with your friends later on in the afternoon or tomorrow, or you can't go out for a surf, or you can barely snowboard or go play with your kids, we're not doing it right. This is not supposed to take away from your daily activity. This is supposed to enhance, so you can do anything you want. And that's my philosophy of how I like to train people. So
that's fantastic. I love that. That's because that fits in with everything that we've spoke about on pretty much every single previous episode we've ever done of this podcast.
Oh.
And that's the whole point, it's to break through all of the stuff that's out there and all the marketing of like, you need to do this and you need to do this much a day and this much in like in 10 minutes and get as much in as possible, and it's kind of like, that's if people fall into that trap, and I did in the very beginning, about 10 years ago, and it was like, the very beginning for me, of my kind of journey into this, and it just doesn't do you any good. You just end up tired all the time. And when people are getting into their 40s, that's the last thing they want. They want to be able to set themselves up to do things for the next 30 years, don't they? So I love that. And I train some guys who are like kind of, some are still in the military and some are ex-military, and they're exactly the same, like having to rein them in, hold them back. They're like, I did a few extra sets just because I had a bit left. And I'm like, that's not what we're after, especially with the life you've had up until now. So that's what we were speaking about before we started hitting record, actually, was the kind of community that you build. Because we like, I've done the same here. I know James has got a great community in his place, and Paul does that as well. So how do you work around that with community, and how do you kind of, do you train people in groups, or do you train kind of individuals, or do you do a bit of both? And, how do you fit all that in for people and get them what they want in a group setting when everyone's got an individual goal?
Yeah. So most people who've been with me, many of them have been with me for, 12 years or so, a lot of people. And so at least the in-person folks have stayed with me because they know my philosophy. They know I say, look, if you guys want balls to the walls, CrossFit is right around the corner. Okay, nothing wrong with CrossFit. Look, there's something for everybody, again, but that's not my philosophy. If you want balls to walls, you are in the wrong place. If you want to keep up with everybody, there's a Zumba class down the street. But this here, don't look at anybody else. When I train in groups, everyone is here to better themselves. Everybody has a different journey. Some people broke their backs. Some people lost a child. Some people, everyone's had a huge history, and everyone's starting from a different place. So if you go from a wall push-up to an elevated push-up, I want to freaking congratulate you, and that's a victory. Okay, I don't care if the other person's doing 15 pull-ups and you could barely do a row. Who gives a shit? I want everybody to focus on their step and their journey, because that could be extremely intimidating, seeing how strong people can be and can get. They're comparing themselves. And so when I train people in a group, I'm constantly saying, leave yourself fresh. They're like, well, how do I get as strong as you? Do you want to know how I become strong, guys? I train in a calm state. Everything's zen. That's my personal journey, because I have a big life. I've got the 4 kids. I've got the freaking business that I'm working sometimes 50 hours a week. Okay. I've got the 2 dogs. I am running a freaking round. I am training people. I have a lot of clients, thank God, wonderful class. And I have a whole empire of 400 people in a membership that I nurture. I even have a text app with them that I'm crazy. I know. So I'm on. I mean, we have I'm just going to show you guys. There's this cool text that you can't see. Forget it. It's too bright. But the point is, if you have a crazy life, you can't be crazy in your workouts. Okay. You can get the stress relief. We can do some Tabata. We can do some high intensity. But if you're constantly doing all this crazy high intensity, it will not sustain. You will break down. You will get injuries. And again, I'm 41 years old. And I don't like to say, because I'm 41, I have to chill out. No, that's not how it works. To me, I feel freaking great. Knock on wood. I have no pain. Like, I feel amazing. And I want everybody else to feel like that. And the reason why I feel like I don't have pain is because if I know I can't make that second, or if I don't go to failure, once in a blue moon we'll test for, a little test for failure, but not every day. This is a place where you go and you put maybe 70 to 80% out and you save the rest so you can come back tomorrow if you want, or come back in 2 days. This is a longevity, and this is my philosophy, and I make it very clear in the beginning. If they don't like that, I'm not the coach for them. You will not get that from me. Do I have programs that can give them balls to the walls? Yes. I have made programs that are intense and crazy. And I specifically say, I don't recommend you doing these programs a lot. Go ahead and do it when you have all this extra energy and aggression that you need to get out. Hit up one of those programs. Hit up that video. There you go. Don't do it every day, but hey, again, it's your life. You make your own decisions. I'll just give you the knowledge of what I've seen happen over the last 21 years. Yeah, so that's how I break it down.
It's kind of interesting. So from your, we spoke to, we had Finn Bartulan on last week from Belfast, who's 30, and he was telling us when he started his career and gym and everything, social media was already sort of there and everything was digital, and you're obviously talking, and I obviously remember as well, producing DVDs and things like that. And now everything's moved sort of online and digital. And you've mentioned your kind of community a few times. So how's that now? Do you want to sort of explain a little bit about that for us? The kind of, I take it it's all online and that sort of thing. If you know about that, that'd be great.
Yeah. So in addition to my in-person stuff, because I'll never get rid of that because I need that in-person connection, I have something called Lauren's Playground, and it's an online community filled with different programs. You can open up a program and you'll have different videos to go with the program, all digital. You can print out some of the things that we do. It's been around for over 4 years now. A lot of these people were my diehard DVD people. Some of these are new people who just discovered me, and they have joined this ongoing membership where they'll get some new content. They're also inside a group Facebook where I'm very accessible to them, where they've made friends. I've had people here in the States go out to people in England and become wonderful friends with these people. It's just, we have people all over the world, New Zealand, Australia, Germany, all over UK, the whole Europe, Canada, just everywhere. It's been pretty amazing to have them all in this wonderful community called Lauren's Playground. It's more than just having access to 40 to 50 programs depending on whatever level you're on. We have ground zero, we have under 15-minute workouts, we've got strength only. We've literally got almost everything you could think of. And then of course, since COVID hit, it put a fire under my butt to start doing Zoom classes for people who literally couldn't leave their house. And we have a few ladies from the UK who log on a few times a week. We're even members of my next level, which is more of it's the live membership. I have two memberships, one where they have access to all my videos and programs and the group and the community, which is great. And they have you get discounts on all my workshops and live events. But then I have a level up membership where you actually can show up just like you're a student here in my gym, show up just like you're hearing me now, except on a different mic. And I'm teaching a class. You get it raw. There's no editing. There's all kinds of stories that people will hear, but we're having fun. They don't have to think. They show up. These people have a kettlebell in their house and maybe a suspension trainer, and they're able to do a full-on amazing. The transformations since March, since I implemented it, it's like amazing to see right from their own living room. It's crazy. And so that's been the newest component I've added is the Zoom classes as well. And then of course the Zoom workshops. Obviously I'm more of an in-person type person other than, my DVDs and digital stuff, but to be able to see people and give them feedback right from where I am all the way across the country is pretty neat and pretty cool.
I think I saw some clips on your Instagram maybe over the last couple of days of group sessions actually happening in the area that you're sat in at the moment, and then obviously people were logging in from home and joining in as well, and you were doing things on the rings, and you had people, you were swinging, you were doing all this stuff in that gorgeous setup that you've got there. So no, that's absolutely brilliant. That's great. Do you have, I was going to say, we'll include everything that we can in the show notes, all the connections, all the links and connections to all of your sites and that sort of thing. If people want to sort of, delve in and find out more about you and what you do, what's the best sort of way? Where would you kind of direct people as a sort of first point of call to find out more about you, Lauren?
Yeah, I mean, they can learn about me through my site, laurenbrooksfitness.com or ontheedgefitness.com. They both go there. And if people are interested in my community that I have, we only open twice a year. So I don't let just people come in anytime. So I really want to be there to welcome everyone all at once. And the energy is incredible when it only is open twice a year. So we do that. And I host a ton of free stuff, a ton of free challenges, which have also been really transformative to people who have no money whatsoever. People have no money and they just don't know what to start. Some of these challenges take like 5 minutes a day and they still get to be involved in a free Facebook group called Lauren Brooks Fitness Challenge, which is, again, a lot of this stuff is on my site, but I do want to let people know there are a lot of free resources that I encourage people to check out, because it really does lead to some pretty cool stuff. So, and I want people to know that this is really for everybody. You just have to, know where you are, and we meet you where you are. And it seems like we all carry that same philosophy, which I really appreciate.
And what would you say is kind of next for you on the horizon? Because I suppose it sounds like that the whole sort of pandemic and lockdown really, like you say, I think you said, lit a fire under your butt. Maybe if that's a word.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
And then, then that kind of made you think, well, I'm going to get more involved in the online, the online videos, the Zoom sessions, that sort of thing. Where do you see, you moving or you taking this in the next kind of maybe year or so?
Yeah, well, I'm going to just continue all the Zoom and the online stuff that I'm doing as far as coaching and as far as my membership goes. But I do see myself offering, so I did create a certification and I did an in-person one, but I do see myself doing an online / in-person one, hopefully in the next 6 to 12 months, depending on what's going on, because people still crave the in-person and things are starting to slowly go back to normal. And I do believe that if we can get as many people in person as we can, that would be the best situation, but I will also keep it open. So I do see myself doing some sort of either in-person certification weekend or an online digital certification course where it really is designed to train people that actually train people, not to train people to train like elite athletes. It would be people like everyday people that are 50s and 60s who've had a shoulder injury and who really shouldn't be doing 100 snatches in 5 minutes. So things like that. It would be a lot of, we would obviously discuss a lot of the core activation stuff, what happens. I mean, and this doesn't just apply to women who've had babies. I mean, hysterectomies, men who've had, appendix surgeries or just sat too long in their lives. So it really just is very applicable to a lot of people. So it'd be more of a movement-based type certification.
Well, if you ever feel like coming over to England to offer that, I'd be very up for hosting you here and stuff. We've had Tracy Rifkind over a few times actually, and she's been with us a few times. And that sounds fantastic. And I love the kind of, like you say, the ethos of training people to train real people. And some certifications, we've all done them, obviously, and we all do them and we all enjoy them, but it's kind of almost like you do it for a challenge for yourself. And it's very kind of, performance based and, high energy and that sort of thing. But then when you actually, I work with lots of people in their sort of 50s, 60s and 70s myself. And then you can't really directly apply a lot of the stuff that you do and you really enjoy to this population. So you have to adapt it. So that sounds brilliant to actually give trainers. And I think there's a big gap there to actually give trainers the tools and the understanding and the empathy and the methodology to actually kind of translate those skills into everyday people in their 50s and 60s, which sounds really exciting. That's fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us, Lauren. It's been absolutely a pleasure to get to know you and to hear about your story. Pete, do you have any? you have any questions at all for Lauren, or any final? Are you going to do the? We usually have a final thought that Paul does, and he's not with us today. Have you got a final thought?
Do you know what? Do you know what? The Jerry Springer final thought. And Paul said, he sent me a message earlier, and he was like, "You can do it if you want." The final thought wrap up. I don't know if I can do it. You know, I can't. I'm not going to be able to do it justice the same as he does it. So
do we just leave it?
You, just do you.
I make myself look stupid. So I'm just going to say thank you, Lauren. And James is right. If you come over, he'll host you happily.
I would love that.
No, that would be great because
will they let in?
Sorry,
am I allowed in?
Yeah, when you're allowed in, yeah. Well, you've got a British passport, so you're allowed in. I
have to update my British passport though; it's been expired. But
okay.
No. I'm still a citizen. I mean, I'm both. I have dual citizenship. My dad made sure of that.
Excellent.
All right. Well, if they let me in, I will be over there. I just want to, make sure things are open.
Because I think, like Jim says, there is like a gap there because we've got Tim Anderson on in a couple of weeks actually from Original Strength. And he does the similar sort of thing for like movement and all that sort of stuff. And it's kind of like I did a workshop a few years ago of his, and that was really good. And I use it with my guys, and it's very simple to give to people to say, just do this and just go home and do it. And there's like lots of bodyweight stuff as well. So like, I'm sure you've got that. And then you can just say to people, you can give them a little routine and say, go and do this. And then use your imagination because you're lying on the floor and you can't really hurt yourself, but you will get stronger. Right. So, I think that's a great idea. So I'm looking forward to that.
Brilliant.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks so much, Lauren. And we will post everything that we can in the show notes. And I'd really encourage people, certainly as a first point of call, if you're more of a social media type person, then certainly follow Lauren on Instagram. She always puts out fantastic content, and it's not always fitness content. It's not always just showing you exercises. A lot of what Lauren also shares is kind of the emotional and the kind of empathy and the mindset side of training, and the way that you actually view yourself and the pressures that we come under in today's society. And she's got such a positive message about being strong, and it's something that I love, and I know a lot of our members already follow. So that's great. So thanks so much, Lauren, for joining us. And hopefully we will speak to you again in the future, maybe on another episode, and hopefully one day we'll get to meet in person as well.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you. Take care. Have a wonderful evening. Good night. It's late over there.
Guys, just please make sure that you like, that you subscribe, that you follow us. If you like the content, if you like these interviews that we're doing, please share it with friends. If you can, we are on iTunes, we are on Spotify, we're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. Wherever you listen to the podcast, please do leave us a review and get in touch with us on social media and let us know anything you'd like more of, and people you'd maybe like us to interview in the future. But thank you so much, guys. We'll see you again next week. Thank you to Mr. Peter Lant. Thank you to Lauren Brooks for being an absolutely fantastic guest. And we will see you next week. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant, Paul Bassett and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com, or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.